CEO Cargo is one of the most expensive and most complicated businesses in GTA Online, but if you can manage to run it correctly, it is truly one of, if not the best business in the entire game. CEO Cargo has been updated a lot over the past 5 years or so, and now it is easily the best that it has ever been. In this video, I will show you tips and tricks that you can use to make running a CEO Cargo business a lot easier and far more profitable in GTA Online. If you enjoyed the video, a like is of course appreciated, if not dislike. Consider subscribing to my channel if you guys are new, and let's get started. To break into the CEO Cargo business, you will first need a CEO office. Luckily for us, this location won't be very important most of the time, so get whichever one you want. In order to not waste money, the best pick is going to be Maze Bank West for $1 million, or if you want a more centrally located one in the downtown area, the Arcadius Business Center for $2,250,000 is great. Maze Bank Tower is pretty overrated, largely due to the $4 million price tag, and Lawn Bank West has the best view of any CEO office by far. However, it costs $3.1 million, which is a lot of money that could be put towards CEO Cargo warehouses. Now, when it comes to upgrading your CEO office, there are a few really important things that you need to know. Almost every upgrade for the office itself is cosmetic, including the wall safe. A lot of players get tricked into thinking you'll actually get money from the hidden wall safe upgrade, but that is not true. The only upgrades really worth getting are the garages if you need more space for vehicles, and the accommodation if you want to be able to spawn at your CEO office. This can be kind of useful depending on if you want to take advantage of a mission that starts from the CEO office. That mission is of course export mixed goods. Now, once you've purchased an office, when you visit the front desk, you will be able to launch the export mixed goods mission, which will pay you $50,000, and it's available to do every 48 minutes. And what you do for this mission is simply go and pick up a truck loaded with goods from one of your warehouse locations, and you're going to deliver it to the docks. Now, very occasionally this goes on double, sometimes even triple money, allowing you to really rake in some cash. A lot of people start their GTA Online days by doing this mission immediately after spawning in, which brings us back to why the accommodation is good if you want to spawn here and start off your day with this mission. To purchase CEO Cargo warehouses, which you're going to need to make the most money with this business, you're going to need to go to your office computer. Simply sit down and enter into the special cargo section of the computer and open up the warehouse map. There are 3 different tiers of warehouse that you can buy: small, medium, and large. I would only ever recommend purchasing large warehouses because they will allow you to hold more crates, allowing you to fill them up a lot more than the smaller warehouses between sale missions. This also inherently means doing less CEO Cargo sale missions, which aren't necessarily hard, but it can save you some time doing them less often. One thing to note here is that once you have purchased all large warehouses, you cannot get rid of them, and you can never get a small or medium warehouse. So be warned. Small warehouses can hold up to 16 crates, and they range in cost between $250,000 to $400,000. Medium warehouses can hold up to 46 crates and range between $850,000 and $1 million. And large warehouses can hold up to 111 crates and cost between $1,900,000 to $3,500,000. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to only talk about large warehouses because I simply don't recommend buying the smaller medium ones. When it comes to buying your large warehouses, these are the locations that you should purchase in order of first one to buy to last to buy. Starting off with the Darnell Bros warehouse for $3,500,000, followed by the Logistics Depot for $2,600,000, followed by Wholesale Furniture for $1,900,000, and finally the Cypress Warehouse for $3,265,000. Now, the final location is where you have to decide what to do. The 4 that we've just mentioned are all in a very straight line and very close to each other. However, there is a big price difference between the last 2 that I'm going to recommend, and you can only have 5 in total, so you're going to have to make the decision of which one is going to work better for you. First up, we have the Walker & Sons warehouse for $3,040,000, or the West Vinewood backlot for a much cheaper $2,135,000. Walker & Sons is a lot closer to the other 4 locations than the West Vinewood backlot. However, it will cost you $900,000 more dollars. Now, in the long run, I would say it is more worth it to purchase the Walker & Sons warehouse because you will save yourself time whenever you go to source. However, something to be aware of is that this location in particular is a little bit more sketchy for landing helicopters near it due to the lack of room, and the other aspect is the risk of sail vehicles getting knocked or driven into the water, which is right beside the warehouse. This is again where you have to decide what is going to be best for your personal situation. Now honestly, I've never had an issue with the Walker & Sons warehouse, and it's the one I own out of the last two. But I know people who have lost cargo due to the water, so do be warned. Now when it comes to actually getting crates for your warehouses, there are two main ways to do this. You can use your CEO office, any master control terminal, and most importantly the Terabyte to source CEO cargo. The Terabyte is going to be the best option, and there are a couple of different reasons for this. Firstly, the Terabyte can be parked right outside of any warehouse you want to source for, and because the warehouses you're going to buy are so close to each other, you won't have to keep moving it around. And after every source mission, you will have a 5-minute cooldown before you can source cargo to the same warehouse again. So, in that cooldown, you can simply source for the next warehouse down the street. Now if you do this for 2 warehouses back to back, or even 3 warehouses, it will become extremely efficient because you're effectively eliminating any non-productivity that would otherwise be incurred by the cooldown for sourcing the same warehouse. What I like to do is park the Terabyte in between 2 warehouses where I can easily walk from the warehouse to the Terabyte in not much time at all, so I can begin another sourcing mission quickly. The other benefit of using the Terabyte to do your manual sourcing is that using the Terabyte's computer to launch sourcing missions will avoid getting the terrible sourcing mission that was added in the 2022 Criminal Enterprises update. This means that when you source using the Terabyte computer, not the Terabyte Master Control Terminal, you cannot get the newer sourcing mission that Rockstar added to this business. This one is awful, and it takes up to 30 minutes to complete a single sourcing mission. For those 2 reasons, I would always recommend using the Terabyte computer to source and completely skip out on using the office or the master control terminal. Now when it comes to manually sourcing cargo, the most efficient way is to source 3 crates at a time for $18,000, and this is for reasons that we will get into in just a minute. Once you've launched a sourcing mission, there are a couple of things that you will want to know and pay attention to. About 60% of the time, your crates will spawn inside of a single vehicle, which you can go and pick up and then deliver back to your warehouse. Now there used to be a way to actually tell which mission you got as soon as you began the mission. If you opened your map or looked at your minimap and saw the warehouse that you had sourced to marked on the map, that used to mean that you had gotten a single vehicle sourcing mission. Now if it wasn't on your map, that meant that the particular mission that you were doing was going to be 3 separate individual crates that you would have to go back and forth to pick up. Now at some point this was changed, as when I was getting footage for this video, this old trick was no longer true in my experience. I am wondering if this is because I sourced out of my Terabyte perhaps, but if anyone knows anything about this, please share with us in the comments because I'm honestly a little confused. However, these next few tricks should still work. If you get the Trackify mission when you begin your sourcing mission, 2 dots will spawn on your Trackify radar and then a 3rd dot will show up. Now that 3rd dot is always going to be the actual location of your cargo, so pay lots of attention to this. Also, if you get the source mission where multiple green cargo crates spawn on the map, the last one that flashes on and off will always be your actual cargo. Now once you've done some sourcing missions, your assistant may also call you and offer you a special item. These are worth about $100,000 to $150,000, and they will cost you 20% of the total value of the item to begin the sourcing mission. Then you can go and pick it up. Now unfortunately, these special items will have to be sold separately from the rest of your crates, but they offer about an 80% profit margin, which is very nice to get. And then we have passive sourcing, and this is the method that I personally use to fill out my CEO cargo warehouses, and it usually takes me about 3 weeks to go from 0 crates to 111 crates. Since the 2022 Criminal Enterprises update, warehouse technicians have been added into each of your cargo warehouses. You simply walk up to them and can pay them $7,500, and they will source between 1 to 3 crates after 48 minutes. Obviously, 1 crate being the most common, with about a 65% chance. 2 crates have a 25% chance, and 3 crates are roughly a 10% chance. However, additionally, you also have a 1% chance to source an additional special cargo crate, the same ones that can be worth upwards of $100,000. You can do this at each warehouse you own, once every 48 minutes, and the best part is that these technicians also work while you're offline, meaning you can source before getting off, and the next time you get on, you will be informed on the crates that each technician sourced for each of your warehouses. If you have an Oppressor Mark II, it will take you almost exactly 2.5 minutes to fly to each warehouse and source using the warehouse technicians, so long as of course you have these CEO Cargo warehouse locations that I recommended. However, if you have GTA Plus, you can actually send your technicians out through your phone in-game through the Vinewood Club app, which is insanely efficient, honestly. On average, your warehouse technicians will bring back 1.7 crates every time you source, meaning to fill up a warehouse entirely, it will take roughly 65 individual sources with your warehouse technicians. The next topic we got to talk about is warehouse raids. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying that if you have a mansion with the security detail upgrade, your risk of a cargo warehouse raid is exactly 0%, meaning the following will never even happen to you. Now, if you don't have a mansion with security detail, you can get raided. However, this only happens if you have 78 crates or more inside of your warehouse, meaning if you simply source 77 crates and leave your warehouse at 77 crates inside, you will not be raided. Now, this obviously sucks as it means you can't access the full potential of your warehouses completely safely. However, it's better than losing millions of dollars worth of stock. You can also avoid raids generally by not being registered as a CEO, or like I said, by owning the mansion and having the security detail upgrade. When it comes to selling, CEO Cargo is one of the only businesses in the entire game where you can actually upgrade your sale vehicles to make the missions easier, more efficient, and faster. I'd recommend starting off by getting the tugboat speed upgrade, and beyond this, further upgrades really depend on if you plan to sell in private sessions or public sessions. Selling in public sessions or crew sessions will allow you to get a potentially massive high demand bonus, which is 2.5% more money for every player in the session, capping at 20 players in total, or a 50% sale bonus. Now, if you're selling CEO Cargo in a public session, you're obviously taking a huge risk, but if you want to sell somewhere very safe, our crew is available through our Discord server, and we have crew sessions running where you can still get the high demand bonus and be very safe at the same time. Now, if your sale mission ever goes poorly, if you lose a vehicle or something like that, if you close the game as quickly as you possibly can, you can avoid losing your entire collection of crates. Most of the time, if you do this quick enough, you will only lose 3 crates, which is really not the end of the world. Just make sure to be fast with the shutdown if you do destroy a sale vehicle. When it comes to the actual sale mission types, there are 3 different types of missions you can get with the CEO Cargo warehouse: air sale missions, land sale missions, and sea sale missions. The air missions being easily the most dangerous when it comes to the NPCs that will come after you. Land and sea missions are both very easy to complete. Now, there's a few types of aerial cargo sale missions, a couple of which are extremely dangerous, and we're going to start with the easier ones. For the first one, you're going to have 4 drop-offs and a 5th drop in a restricted area. Generally, this mission is using the Titan, and on this mission, you will go to the first 4 drop-offs, and then the game will reveal the 5th location, which is in a restricted area like the Merryweather Dock. You'll make the drop, you'll get some stars, and upon losing them, you'll get paid. Don't worry, the cops are really not going to be an issue in these missions. The next mission involves the Cuban 800, and it requires you to fly to an area and land the Cuban 800 at the landing location, where there will be multiple enemies to take out. They're very non-threatening, and upon taking them out and all the planes being delivered, you will get paid. The final aerial mission type is the scariest, and this is the one that you're going to want to employ the tactic that I'm going to explain here. Go to LSIA and get into whatever plane you have for a sale mission. It could be a Cuban 800 or a Titan. For this mission, you're going to have to either go to 5 or 10 drop-offs, and at any of these drop points, if you see a helicopter, you know that you have the bad mission. One of the spawned helicopters will be the Valkyrie, and there will be 2 buzzards as well, each at an individual drop point. So I recommend getting into whichever plane you have for the sale mission, getting the drop-off locations marked, and get into an armed aircraft and go and clear out the drop locations yourself. Like I said, if you find 1 helicopter, that means there are going to be 2 more waiting that you will need to take out. Once all the drop points have been cleared, head back to LSIA and do the drop-offs as directed, and you will get paid. Don't worry, you have 30 minutes to do these sale missions, and you will absolutely make every single one. Now, if you don't take out the Valkyrie, your sale mission will end by being blown up extremely quickly. This is something I recommend never even chancing, because I promise you, your plane will not survive the mission with that Valkyrie helicopter alive. For the tugboat sale mission, there are 2 different variants. The first is when you arrive to the tugboat, there will be enemies surrounding the boat itself. take them out, I recommend not really using explosives to try to preserve the boat, and once all the enemies are cleared out, get into the tugboat and nobody will bother you for the rest of the mission. The other tugboat mission is when there are no enemies at the tugboat dock. This means that they will come after you out at sea, starting off in jet skis, and eventually a buzzard will spawn that is completely harmless and it will chase you. Either way, the tugboat missions are by far the easiest of all the CEO cargo sales. Just remember the speed upgrade. And then we have the brigade missions. Now there are a few variants of these missions as well. 3 brigades will spawn if you're selling more than 30 crates in total, however the missions can be different. The first variant are the single drop-off brigades, the best brigade mission by far. You'll often have to use Trackify to identify the drop location, bring all the brigades there, and then defend the spot against a few waves of fast enemies. The other variant of this mission is where you'll have 5 drop-offs per brigade. However, for each truck, the drop-offs are the exact same. Simply go to each one with each truck, and that's that. CEO cargo sale missions almost always give you 30 minutes to complete, with some less common ones being 20 minutes. No matter what though, even as a solo player, you will be able to do all of these within the time frame extremely easily. Trust me, I have done it. As far as profit goes with this business, CEO Cargo is probably the most profitable business in GTA Online for the amount of time that you actually have to put into it to make money, unless you're manually sourcing all of your cargo. Now for one full warehouse in a solo or private session, it'll sell for $2,220,000. In a public session or a crew session with 20 or more players, that equates to $3,330,000 per warehouse. This means that you can make $11,100,000 for selling 5 warehouses completely safely in a private session, or up to $16,650,000 if you sell in our crew sessions or a public session safely, and that is assuming you have the full high demand bonus. Using regular sourcing missions, you'll spend around $660,000 to fill each warehouse up. However, using the staff to passively source, you'll spend about $490,000 for each warehouse, meaning your profit margins are actually significantly better if you passively source with your warehouse technicians generally. However, there is some RNG here that might occasionally cause it to swing the other way, but it will be very occasional. Now, in my opinion, this business is absolutely excellent, perhaps even the best in the game for players with lots of experience and time. I believe the CEO cargo business is best run by sourcing with the warehouse technicians as often as you possibly can, right when you get on, anytime in between, and before you get off. I personally visit my warehouses every 48 minutes and source over and over again while I'm online, and you would be surprised at just how quickly you can fill up your warehouses by just doing this a few times per day. I've made nearly $200 million in the past year or so exclusively from CEO cargo warehouses. If you play solo, I would always recommend to just sell in private sessions or get involved with our crews on any platform and get in on that 50% high demand bonus while also being very safe. If you do it this way, you will almost guarantee that you complete every single sale successfully. I really hope you found this video useful. If so, consider dropping a like and subscribing if you're new, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.